forbidden BL manga I recommend is Lover Boy. The story follows In Jung, who has been in love with his neighbor Jae since he was 3 years old. From a childhood proposal to a teenage confession, feelings never disappeared, not even when Jae got married. And now that Inno's in college and Jae is recently divorced, they reconnect. This story really focuses on unrequited love, and unrequited love is still love even if it's only coming from one side. Carries his feelings for years, and you can't help but feel for him. You're going to love but at the same time, he might irritate you. Sometimes he's stubborn, dramatic, but eventually you will understand him and you will end up rooting for him. But Jay, yeah, let me tell you, you wanna just shake him up and even punch him. He's frustrating, sometimes emotionally distant, and completely unaware of what's happening. But the author does a good job with character development as the story progresses. You see growth, especially from Jaya. By the end, their relationship feels really earned, and even if the journey is messy, you will probably end up loving them as a couple. If you enjoy long term devotion, emotional tension, character growth, and especially the unrequited love, this is definitely worth reading. The next manhwa I recommend is H&H Roman Company. This story is set in a world where human civilization has advanced so much that people barely rely on God or angels anymore, which creates something unexpected. Unemployment in heaven. To solve this crisis, God creates a company called H&H Roman Company, where beings from heaven and even hell work together. The main couple in the story is Ginger and Rum, and their dynamic is actually very interesting. Their relationship develops within this supernatural workplace setting, mixing fantasy, corporate structure, and subtle emotional tension. I will be honest, the plot idea is really creative, but the execution isn't always perfect. At some point, it might feel a little slow or even slightly boring, and the second couple may take a lot of the chapters. But even with that, it's still a good one time read, especially because the art is really nice and visually appealing. If you enjoy supernatural BL with workplace dynamics and don't mind a slower pace, this one is worth checking out. Next one is Radio Storm. This story takes place in a world destroyed by war and a deadly plague, where supernatural disabilities are no longer just a myth. The main character, Sak, was born with an extraordinary sense of smell. He sets out to find his caller, the person who can amplify his powers. When they finally meet, Sak feels an overwhelming affection, but the problem is his love is completely one-sided, and his caller wants nothing to do with him. What makes the story intense isn't just the romance, it's the danger surrounding them. They're constantly trying to survive in a collapsing world, and Sak is willing to risk everything to protect someone who doesn't even return his feelings. This story also has some really good plot twists that you can only fully appreciate when you read it yourself. There are moments that will generally keep you on toes. It's emotionally messy and sometimes frustrating, but in a way that pulls you deeper into the story. It does explore darker themes, so it's not a light read. But if you like intense, high stake romance with unexpected twists, this one is definitely worth your time. One is King's Maker. It follows Wolfgang Golden Leonard, the fourth prince who returns to the palace after years of hiding. He hates royal life, the politics, the expectation, the control. But then he meets Shin Soyok. Soyok is a catamite serving the king, calm, intelligent, and observant. At first, their relationship feels strategic rather than romantic, but slowly Soyok begins to see something different in Wolfgang, not just a stubborn prince, but someone who could spark rebellion. This too isn't just about love, it's about power, survival, trauma, and political manipulation. It also depicts some heavy and mature themes, so it's definitely not a light read. The character development is one of the strongest parts. You really see growth, especially in Wolfgang. And if you finish King's Maker, there is also a sequel called King's Maker Triple Crown, which continues the story and dives even deeper into political and emotional consequences. So if you love long, layered storytelling with intense, slow-burn romance, this is absolutely worth your time. But just be prepared, it's emotional and heavy at times. Last manhwa I recommend is Love or Hate. This story follows Jesus, a romance column writer, and Jo-won, his former stepbrother, who is now a famous actor. Their relationship has always been complicated. They grew up together after their parents remarried, but what they are to each other is never clearly defined. Brothers, soulmate, toxic exes, this story is honestly really messy, but in an interesting way. The characters will absolutely piss you off at times, but at the same time, you will feel sympathy for them. They are flawed, insecure, jealous, and emotionally complicated. If you are the kind of reader who likes to give yourself headaches and heartbreak, this story is for you. The dynamic constantly shifts between attraction and resentment, dating and breaking up, and irritation. And when the mysterious photographer K enters the picture, things spiral even more. The line between love, obsession, art, and manipulation starts to blur. It deals with mature themes and complex emotions, so it's definitely not a light read. But if you enjoy intense, emotionally chaotic relationships that keep you hooked until the very end, you can go and check this out.